Hello and welcome back to my craft room. So it's time for an update on my Kawandi journey. I've sort of come to the end of it ish for the moment, although I know this is going to be something I'll come back to over and over again for the rest of my life. It's my favourite ever quilting method I've ever tried. I just love it. Yeah, something I'll definitely come back to, but for the time being I'm going to slightly put it to one side because I've got other things in the pipeline, and I just wanted to show you where I've got to and how I'm going to finish off my quilts, because I've been looking everywhere for a tutorial that tells you how to put those little corners on and I can't find one anywhere. Luckily a couple of my lovely viewers have helped me out. Marei and Christine, thank you very much. So in a minute I'm going to show you how I'm going to finish off my this one and this one. So this one was the first one that I did, and I think when I did this side I was doing it all wrong, and luckily Marei put me straight. By the time I did this side I'd learned that you actually are supposed to go all the way around and work in towards the middle with the stitching. I think with that one I was putting each piece on individually and it was all wrong. I've learned that when you put these extra patches over the top, I think they're called tickly, and then the little corners are called phula. I'm probably saying those all wrong, but that's what I've been finding out. So yeah, so I think that was a tickly, and probably so was that, where you kind of just end up going on and adding some to cover a little space, or just to add a pop of colour where you want it. At least that's the way I've been doing it. So yeah, I'm going to use where is it? I've got some pieces that, there's one that I've cut. I'm going to use some little squares of this fabric. This came from a little pinny that my mother-in-law, who's since passed away, gave me, and the pinny wasn't really my cup of tea, but I love the fabric and I just think it'll be a perfect finishing touch. Most of these, I loved this one particularly, but let me go on the desk because I can't show you properly. I loved this one particularly because I had this lovely bright colour African print that my friend Just Johnny Creations gave me on the inside, and the recycled Indian fabrics on the outside, which I thought was perfect because the Siddi people originated in Africa but obviously live in India now. And I've also worked in a couple of bits and bobs that I had myself. I think this came from a dress I used to wear, and this is my mother-in-law's pinning. So I'd like to use this to finish off with the phula. Now I'm told that all I have to do is fold the square like that into a triangle and stitch it on. I was a bit worried that this fabric wouldn't kind of hold a fold, but I think it was Christine that pointed out to me that they're meant to look like a flower kind of blossoming at the corners like that. So in that case it's perfect, isn't it? So I'm going to do that, and Marei, put me right if I'm wrong, but I hope I'm understanding what you said correctly, that I don't have to turn the edges in, you know, like you did like with all the other pieces. I just leave it like that, fold it into a triangle shape and stitch it on like that at all four corners. And I do think, although I'm not using these as a quilt, I've stitched them together into bags because I thought I'd just find more use of them that way. I still feel like it'd be a nice finishing touch, and the Siddi people believe that they're kind of naked and unfinished until they've got their corners done. So I'm going to do that in a minute. I don't think you need to sit and watch me stitch it on. No, I don't think you need to sit and watch me stitch it on. It's literally just a question of folding it diagonally and diagonally again, and then I'll just stitch that little point to each corner like that, and then I'll take some photos of them and put them on at the end. So I'm going to do those. I say that's the end of my Kawandi journey for now. I bet within a fortnight I'll be picking it up again. Now with this one, this is a bit different because I had a big bag I showed last time of scraps left over from where I'd used a lot of my my first husband's. He passed away back in the 90s. I still had some of his shirts. This was one of them, and some of my son's old shirts and my present husband's shirts, and I think this was a friend's shirt and there might even have been a couple of my own in here somewhere, probably that spotty one. So they had sentimental value, and I loved how they all looked together. I turned the bigger pieces into this big double quilt which we've got on our bed. I might take a picture of that and put on at the end as well. but I had these little pieces left over, and because they had such sentimental value, I couldn't bear to get rid of them, and I thought this was a perfect way. And I'd noticed that the picture that Mary shared in the Arty Farty Only Facebook group, I'll put a link to that below, of the quilt that she'd just started. She used very tiny pieces, smaller than I'd been using, so this time I have used much smaller pieces. I mean, that piece you can see is really tiny. And what I wanted to try this time is not turning the edges under. And I quite like the look of that, especially with these old shirts. It wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, I don't think, you know, to have all these frayed edges, but I quite like that, and it did make the process a lot easier not having to turn under. So yeah, as I say, not for everybody perhaps. I also enjoyed using like the care label from the shirt on there as well. I thought it was fun, and I've got a bit of the kind of placket bit that goes down the front of the shirt as well in there. So yeah, I'll probably just stitch this one into another bag. I had a bit of a wrinkling issue with the backing in the middle of this one, and it all got a bit messy there, but I ain't going to worry about that too much. You know me. And I was lucky I found this that I've had knocking around in my craft room drawers for ages and ages, all different shades of blue and different thicknesses of yarn, so I just used that to stitch with. So you can see it's come out all different colours, but I quite like the look of that. But look, such a mess in the middle. It's a shame about that. The last thing I wanted to show you today is so what I had left was these very small scraps that, I mean, I could use them as stuffing. I could turn them into tatty tassels. I did do some tatty tassels to finish my boho bunting. If you want to check out the boho bunting playlist, you'll find tassels on there, finishing off a couple of the bunting pieces. I could use it for kind of quirky doll's hair or something. So I won't be throwing them away. I can't bring myself to throw them away. I even wondered if I could plait them into some kind of cord that could be used as a drawstring for some of the bags. So I'll find a use for those. I'm going to go through what I've got left, because I've still got some in that bag, and divide it into tiny bits like that, and pieces like this which I still think I can use for another Kawandi quilt. That one's probably pushing my luck, and that belongs there. And that. But these pieces are big enough probably to incorporate into another Kawandi quilt. And I'll try and do one a bit better than that I can give to my sons. I think it'd be a lovely thing for my sons to have, as it's got their dad's shirts in there and their own shirts in there. And then there were some sort of bigger pieces like this, and I like to be able to use all the bits of the collars and cuffs and buttonholes and things, and I've kept the buttons separately as well. And then I had a brainstorm one evening sitting doing this, and I suddenly thought, oh, I know what I could try doing with these leftover bits, and I made this. And this is what I wanted to show you. This little quirky doll, which will actually sit, oh, it won't if I do that, it will actually sit on the edge of a shelf. I can't really show it, I'll show it, hang on, let's change the camera again a minute. Here we go. So it will actually sit on the edge of a shelf like that. And I just think that's really cute. But I know that sometimes what I think is really cute and sweet or interesting, other people just think is a bit weird. So I thought I'd see what you think. And if you would like a tutorial on this, let me know, because it's a fun way to use up those bits and pieces up the collars and cuffs. What I'm going to do now is just give you a really rough idea of how I made it, because probably you could cobble it together if you wanted to from that anyway. So I basically used some of the collars and cuffs and bits and bobs. So that's a collar. This is the piece that kind of the collar attached to, so I've cut that in half for the legs. That's about the right length. It's about 20 centimetres. It doesn't matter, it's kind of whatever you've got. And then this, I think, was the length of, I don't know, a bit of the is it called a placket where the buttons go on? I just cut the piece I'd got left in half, and that's enough for the arms. That's about the same length as them, but it was just coincidence. So say I was going to use a bit like, this is the pocket, I could use this for the body. So for the legs, with this one it was a very flimsy fabric. This one's a bit more substantial fabric, so I don't think I'd need to kind of fold it over at the ends to make feet. All I did was turn the raw edge in, roll it over, Let's bring this down a bit. Turn the raw edge in, weld it over, and then kind of whip stitch down, ladder stitched down there. Like that, to make a long tube, which became one of the, so I did that twice for the 2 legs, and then with this one I sort of turned the ends under to make the feet a bit more bulky and pinched it together and stitched it together like that, because this fabric was quite flimsy. This one's much thicker. I don't think I need to do that. I think I'll just leave the feet like that. I'm probably going to make little felt shoes anyway. And then and with the arms very similar. You can see there's a folded over edge there already, because that's where the shirt was finished. This is the raw edge. Turn the raw edge in to keep all that in, and I could turn that under there if I wanted to, and just whip stitch down the side. And again, because there's a bit of bulk to this fabric, I don't think I'd need to here. I doubled it over to make the hand a little bit bigger. And you can see, I mean, I just did this in such a hurry. It was literally maybe half an hour. I just wanted to see if the idea would work. So you can see how quickly and so shoddily I've stitched it together. You can see the buttonhole there. You can see where that came from. This hasn't been stitched on very well. It needs redoing, really. Buttonholes all down there, look. So I did that twice. And then to make the body, I took something like a piece like this. Something like this. I turned the edges in first, all the raw edges in, and then kind of rolled it over to create a body shape. You could stuff it as well if you wanted to, and I just literally cobbled it together. I think if you're interested, if you'd like to make one of these, I'll try and make a little bit more organised kind of tutorial. It doesn't really need a pattern, but I guess I could probably do a kind of a diagram of it. So yeah, so created a body like that, and then just stitched the legs through the whole thickness back and forth a few times, about halfway up, because it gives it a little bit of a waist and a bit of a bottom to kind of sit on. And the same with the arms there. I think if I do another one, which I will, I'll move the arms up a little bit higher. I think it would look better. Now the head was a little bit more tricky. You can see it's all cobbled together at the back. Well, I figured it didn't matter because I was going to do hair, so I'll either do hair with something like this, which would look quite nice. Or I could use some raggedy bits and make that into hair, or I could get a nice fabric and create a headscarf or something. It's quite, I was going to call it ambidextrous. What do I mean? Oh, androgynous ambidextrous. I.e., you know, could be male or female really, couldn't it, at the moment? It doesn't matter, but I think some kind of a dress or a robe or something is going to be easier to make than trying to make trousers. That's completely going to come off now. So I thought what I'd do is use some of these. I've still got lots of this from the recycled Indian fabrics packs that I bought from Bazaar. Some of these lovely fine cottons I think would be nice. I'll make a nice robe or something with that. I've got some silk somewhere as well still from that. There were fine cottons, silks, and some sort of heavier brocadey type of fabric, so I split them up, and this was the cotton bag. So yeah, I'm gonna dress it up now, and put some hair on it and add a little picture perhaps at the end of this video as well. Just yeah, and let me know if you think you'd like to actually see a proper tutorial of that, or if it's just weird. If nobody says anything, I'll just think no, it's just me, it is weird. But it'd be quite fun to be able to take like the collar and cuffs of an old shirt and make a doll out of it, wouldn't it? And then use the rest of the shirt for something else. Okay, so that feels a bit cobbled together. It's mostly I'm telling you what I'm going to do, then I'm going to take pictures of it and put it on the end, and you'll see that any minute now. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. I'm going to be leaving the Kawandi alone for a little bit now, and I've got crochet stuff and other arty projects in the pipeline that I need to focus on for a bit. So but I know I'll be coming back to the Kawandi. I have just loved it. I have loved it, and so glad to have come across it, really. Okay, but that's it from me today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.